Hi friends, it's Tuesday, June 6th. We just finished our Board of Supervisors meeting. We started a little after 9, I think like 9:03, and we ended at 2:04, so it was a really long meeting. We did have some good conversations, but the bulk of it was taken up with call to the audience. We had 37 speakers, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I want to thank Jess Lasoya, the Vice President of Amity Foundation, for reading the Pledge of Allegiance. I literally went and asked him like 2 minutes before our board meeting was going to start, so I appreciate you doing that. And then our land acknowledgement statement was offered by Valerie Buenamea, and she is a clerk who is assigned here at the Board of Supervisors floor, and she's a senior clerk with the clerk of the board office. Thank you so much, Valerie, for reading the land acknowledgement. And then we had Pause for Pause. We had some really compelling video, and also we had 5 speakers talking about what's going on at Pima Animal Care Center. They're really at capacity. A lot of pets that would normally get kind of love, support, and be able to be adopted are feeling a lot of pressure from like the shelter, the noise, not getting enough attention, not being able to be walked. And so animals that are coming in relatively calm are getting more and more anxious, and it's a lot more difficult for them to be adopted. So if you can foster or adopt, please go to Pima Animal Care Center. We had proclamations. Monsoon Safety Awareness Week was offered by Supervisor Scott, and then we had Pride Month in Pima County offered by our office. And so I want to thank Jen, Ciro, and Carl Wagner and AFSCME Local 449 for accepting the proclamation of June 2023 to be Pride Month in Pima County. We had almost 40 people there in support of the proclamation and speakers, and it was just really nice to see a lot of smiling, happy faces in the audience. It was really great, and I was glad to support this item. The item passed 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no for the proclamation, which I think is really unfortunate, but everyone gets to vote the way they would like. I really want to give a special shout out to Ciro for coming and speaking and just being so brave, because that environment is very toxic, especially if you're coming in with an opinion that the majority of the people sitting behind you don't share. They're very vocal and snicker, and it's really immature and also very stressful, and you could see it in her when she was speaking, and you could also hear it from some of the other call to the audience members. And so I'm hoping that some of the changes that we'll see with call to the audience will reduce a lot of that sort of toxic environment, because I think it's really important for everyone to feel comfortable to come in to speak at call to the audience, regardless of your opinions. If you're coming to speak to an item that is specific to what we're talking about, is even better, but you can come to speak to anything. I think that it's important that we talk. I'll go ahead and get into that, because that was a really big item. It was item number 19. I want to thank Supervisor Scott for bringing the item forward. I've tried to sort of bring items to change some of the board policies, and they've not been they've not passed, and so it needed to be somebody else, because I was always going to support something like this, because I think it's important that we give the board members time to discuss items that are important and things that are relevant to the decisions that we're going to be making. We've had a lot of people, the vast majority of people that come to call to the audience, speak to the board about items that are not even county issues, or rehashing things that, votes that you didn't like from the past. That's been a big one. And what I think was very helpful is the last call to the audience, we had speakers come up and say, we're just getting started. And that's when we had about 40 people coming to call to the audience, and it was taking up the bulk of our board meetings. And I am all for people speaking to the call, but really it was becoming more and more volatile, hostile, really offensive. And I've heard from these meetings are not a town hall. You have many avenues in order to have town halls to speak with like-minded people about what your issues are. Our Board of Supervisors meetings were becoming a town hall, and that's not what it should be, and it's also not representative of our community. The opinions that we hear there are not the community members that I hear from, and many of them didn't want to come to speak to Call to the Audience because they didn't want to have to sit through really some really horrible things that are said that I'm trying to curb, but it becomes more difficult. So that item, what we did is that what was proposed is 60-minute maximum for Call to the Audience. And if we have more than 20 speakers, then every speaker would only speak 2 minutes. And so we'll be able to hear about the same number of speakers, but they'll just have less time, and we'll have to be more direct and to the point. And the majority of the board can also vote at the end of that call at the hour mark to say, we only have 2 speakers, we'll go ahead and let them speak, whatever that situation is. We'll have the opportunity to do that as a board. This item passed 3-2 with Supervisor Bronson and Supervisor Christie voting no, even though each one separately acknowledged that there is a problem. There's no willingness to try to fix it by changing board policy. So this was something that I was happy to support. I also want to thank Rachel Jones and Jess LaSoya during Call to the Audience. You both said some things that were really inspirational as far as trying to keep people united, and that we have more in common than we do contrary to each other. And why I think especially Rachel highlighted the need to try to change the hostile environment in the Board of Supervisors. And so thank you both for that. We had item 24 and 31. There was some confusion about this item. It's an operating transfer of funds. One of them was for Visit Tucson and the other was for the Keno Stadium District. It's a bed tax, and it is required by state statute, and it's a pass-through from the Department of Revenue to Pima County, and then it goes to those entities. So items 24 and 31 did that respectively. And so I just want you to see that that is not money that is part of Pima County's budget. It was their pass-through funds really to those organizations. We had the purchase of property from flood control. There was a article in the paper about one of the purchases that were coming up because it's a significant amount of money in an area that is fairly wealthy but was built in a floodplain. So the concern is that flood control, that's their job, is to try to move out homes, purchase them, and not keep people in harm's way because floods are coming. And because of fires recently, these properties that were built in 1970 are now a cause for huge concern. So there was a purchase of property there. And then item 12 was Tucson Clean and Beautiful. They are cleaning up our county washes. Thank you, Tucson Clean and Beautiful. And so there was an amount of money for that. And that's specifically for unincorporated Pima County, so everything outside of the city. We had a discussion, we had an executive session item on the water differential, and I can't really give you a lot of details about it, but I voted against legal advice. The item did pass 4-1, but I voted against it. And I think it's been well established that I don't feel like we should be working against the city regarding this water differential. And while I think the costs could have been distributed differently, I really feel it's a huge expense both at the city and the county and legal costs, and it's just rising. So I'd really like to close the chapter, and that's why I voted against the item. I just wanted to explain that. Items 33 and 35 is money for PEEPs. And so it's for Head Start, Flowing Wells, Marana, Sahuarita, and Sunnyside Unified Districts. And I'm just really excited to support this item. Right now, this is coming from ARPA funds, like federal funds, specifically going towards this. And so we're going to be having a discussion about what we're going to do, how we're going to be funding this project. But I'm completely in favor of it, even if it's general fund money. I think the benefit far outweighs the investment, and it is an investment in our young people. Item number 4B is an item that was brought forward by Supervisor Hines, and really what it does is it allows current county employees to run for elected office and not have to resign their position. It's in line with some state law, and so what we asked and what passed unanimously from our board is for our county attorney's office to give us a legal opinion as to whether this is something that we can do. And what I've noted is that we have a lot of people that are very qualified in our county ranks that are just not in the position to retire. And you have to retire in order to run for office, and that really causes a lot of financial hardship and discourages people that are really qualified from these positions of running for the position. So I was in favor of moving forward to ask for the legal opinion, and I'm excited to do that. And then we have, our next board meeting is June 20th. We have a lot of activities for Juneteenth coming up, and so we'll put a graphic for that. And other than that, friends, stay safe, and it's getting hot out there, really, really warm, and so we're hoping the monsoons start soon. Have a good one.